Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am the man whose name is in the title, who puts it all together and enjoys life as it happens, Mr. Warren Hayes. Thank you all for being here, joining me on another fun-filled 60 to 90 minutes or so of podcasting about professional wrestling right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you're watching live right now, thank you very much for joining me, because yes, we record live every Thursday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern. I wouldn't want to say sharp, because we don't officially start like boom at 9 p.m. But, I mean, you come in at 9 p.m. This is what you do if you ever want to pop in live, which you should at some point, because there's a whole bunch of reasons to want to come and check out the Mr. Warren Hayes Show live. And one of them is the great community of people who join us here that you can chat with and share your thoughts. But then when you come in like at 9 o'clock sharp, you get to listen to our boy Ben Parizzi, also known as Phantom Mark 87, 88, 89. I can't, hang on a second. I get lost in the, I'm not good in mathematics. It's Phantom Mark 82. There you go. He composed that bit of music that you hear at the start of the pre-show, so you can come on over and jam along, as an air guitar thing. Yeah, you can do one of those. and join it, but it's a good time if you do want to come here live on youtube.com. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of people who do come in here every Thursday, and they're here again tonight. Look at that. Look, I always like to take a moment to say hello to them, because if these people are like, hey, I'm going to take time out of my Thursday night to come and hang out with Warren, the very basic least I can do is say hello to Kelly Tonehas, for instance. Good to see you, Kelly. Robert Larry here as well. I always some of the first to arrive. Good to see you guys. Mr. Fretz is here. Mr. Fretz, who, by the way, turning, and he put his age out there, so it's public knowledge. It's not, it's not like I'm exposing it. 37 years old is what he's becoming tomorrow. It's his birthday tomorrow. So everyone in the chat, wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Fretz. And it's good to see you come out here on birthday eve. Mr. Fantastic, it's good to see you as well. Justin Firestein, Anakin JMT, hello, gentlemen. Good to see you as well. Flowman, nice to see you. DGMC is here as well. We've got 5th Generation Carney Joseph with it. Nice to see you. The Streak Saver is here. Aaron Entertainment is here too. Good to see you, Aaron. Oh, and there we go. What a fantastic. Injection 2K just popped in too. Look at that. Such a great I'm telling you, great bunch of people. I come out here every Thursday night, and I'm excited to do this for all of you who are here tonight live, youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. And if you're liking this already, do consider giving the video a thumbs up. That kind of stuff really, really does help. And I also want to say a big thank you if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because yes, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is also available in audio format. So when you're on the go, and you can't necessarily listen to video, right? So you can pop in, you can pop on your Apple Podcast, your Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, wherever. It's there. And if it's not there, you reach out to me on Twitter, twitter.com/MrWarrenHayes, and you tell me, you say, Warren, my favorite podcast application, which is called Hand Over Might. Doesn't have the Mr. Warren Hayes Show on it. By the way, never hire me to come up with branding for your upcoming podcast application. I will come up with shit names. But anyway, thank you all very much, and thank you to everyone listening, watching, whether it's live, whether it's on demand. I really appreciate it. Do consider giving the video a thumbs up if you're here on youtube.com. That would be really, really, really cool. Also, what would be really cool is if you head on over to belltobells.com. That's BELLTOBELLES.com, where you can get all the women's wrestling stuff that you like. Some cool coverage, some that's all we talk about there. at Bell to Bells. Kristen Ashley does a fantastic job maintaining everything there. So go check it out, or follow us on Twitter as well at Bell to Bells. Because you won't realize how much you missed us until you have us enter your life. How about that? However, you can hire me to promote your women's wrestling website, though. That I'm much better. I'm much better at that. Let's see. Hey, there's you could Mr. Warren Hayes Discord is here as well. Right, the link is in the description if you want to go check that out. Join us for some discussion. A lot of people who join us live here are also members of the Discord. It's a great group of people. Come join us. Come. That's always fun. Great way to show support for the show as well is to leave a comment in the comment section of any old video. We're on a comment streak right now. We are up to 3 videos, right? If I'm not mistaken, 3 videos that have hit 20 comments or more. We're looking to get 20 comments on each video for the next 20 videos, and then we'll get a reward. I did my previous reward for the first comment streak. I watched Goldberg at 54 last weekend, last Saturday. You can go check it out. The video is still there up on youtube.com if you want to check that out. My main takeaway from Goldberg at 54, the one thing that stood out to me, the top thing that stood out to me actually, on the Goldberg at 54 documentary, is that Goldberg eats sushi with a fork. Goldberg eats sushi with a fork. I see him there in the doc, and he's got the documentary, right? And he's got a nice plate of sushi. He's got a couple of maki rolls, some hoso maki. He's got some nice nigiri right there, like one with a really nice, nice slice of beautiful red tuna on it. Motherfucker just stabs it. He just stabs the sushi with a fork like he's some kind of caveman, like some kind of, like he just came out of the coal mines, spent the last 25 years there, and he's like, you should go check it out. But the point here is that it was a good time. I had a lot of fun doing it, and we're going to come up with another reward for when we hit 20 comments on the next 20 videos. So the streak is ongoing. Please, like right now, if you're watching live, you can't add any comments, but once the video is normal and released, hey, jump in the conversation. Let's get some comments going, and let's hit that streak. Let's keep it going. Don't forget to join me on the Patreon, patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Tonight, one of the final Warren is off the clock post streams that I'm doing. Tonight we're going to be talking about Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's been teasing us again. Oh, my WWE contract is coming up. Oh, I might want to wrestle elsewhere. I would really like it to wrestle Darby Allin. I would like some sincere appreciation for my Daniel Bryan impersonation. It's very, very hard to hit that particular Washington State accent. So thank you in advance. Thank you in advance for showering me with appreciation for my spot on impersonation. So basically, Daniel Bryan is, his contract's coming up, so he's, that's what we're going to talk about on the Patreon tonight. Where would you like to see him wrestle, and especially who would you like to see him wrestle? He's put out some favorites. I might even talk about it on the show later if I get a chance, but there we go.
Oh, yeah.
Chat, you guys are great. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. 1 out of 10 impression? What are you talking about? That is the best. I would challenge anyone to do a better Daniel Bryan. I would challenge anyone to do a better Daniel Bryan than what I just did today. Right here, right now. Not even kidding. Challenges out there. Let's see. So we talked about the comments. We talked about the Patreon. Yeah, and it's one of the last post streams that I'll be doing for the Patreons, on the Patreon, because I'll be moving the live stream to YouTube membership. So if you are a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel here on YouTube, in 2 weeks' time, on the first Thursday of May, the post show will be for YouTube members moving forward. So if you want to join me there, If you're already a member, that's cool. If you're like, hey, this is a great opportunity to become a member, please do it. Let's go right ahead. It's a great way to show support for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, just as it is to drop some super chats. I'll read your question or comment live on the air as well, like I did with Anakin. He left one previously as well. Another super chat from Anakin. Thank you very much. He said, rest in peace, Slates and Michael Bird. I've stopped doing my pre-show streams that I do on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays for a bunch of reasons. One of them being that I want to focus on other types of content. There's a bunch of, and it's not because I didn't enjoy doing them. Au contraire, I think we had a pretty good time. There were some fun, loose streams to do. I enjoyed them, but at some point, there's only so many hours in a week that you can do, and I want to do a different type of, more recorded style content too. So at some point, a boy just needs some time to stretch his legs. So, I'm going to miss talking about Michael Burdick and his numerous contributions to WWE.com copy. Hey, here's the thing. Here's something. I'm sure at this point, you've probably, especially if you hang out on the Twitter bubble, you've probably heard what happened to Mickie James getting her stuff sent to her by WWE in trash bags, right? Via FedEx. I'm pretty sure you've heard of that by now. Maybe our boy Michael Burdick is the guy who got behind this. We haven't, maybe he's the guy who got fired now by Trips and Johnny Ace and Stephanie McMahon and whoever else. Poor Michael Burdick. Rest in peace, Michael Burdick. One of the greatest memes of all time. Evan Wright left us a super chat as well. It says, here for the Dynamite talk. All other shows are dead. We will be talking about Dynamite. There's a lot of good stuff on Dynamite these days. I want to say hello to Wrestling Plug Inc. Good to see you, Pluggo. And my boy, JPQ, Big Paws on a Pup, is here as well. Now I kind of want to talk about, New Japan with JPQ. I miss talking about New Japan and JPQ. All right, that's enough of all of this. Let's get to it. Let's jump right into this week's weekly wrestling inspection. Hello again. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, and I am back. I am back listening to talk more about wrestling. Wrestling Plug Inc. left us a super chat. I'll just read this and then we'll get on to the inspection. Thank you very much, Pluggo. He says budget cuts equals shipping in trash bags. Oh, it's ridiculous. I don't want to dwell too much on it because it's really a wrestling online. It's really an online wrestling bubble thing right now. And it's happening as we're recording this right now. Mickie James, essentially, she got her. I just want to make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about at this point. Mickie James tweeted out today she got her things back. WWE shipped her whatever belongings she had left, I guess, at the Thunderdome. They shipped it back to her, but they stuffed it all in a trash bag. So she opens up the trash bag and there's like a Post-it on it. It's like Mickie J. And she tweeted out at Vince McMahon and says, gee, thanks, Vince. This is great. And everyone's sort of like, wow, okay, you don't do that. You don't put someone's shit in a trash bag. And it's disrespectful, really, to anyone. So she tweets that out. It starts to gain traction, right? So you have Triple H and John Laurinaitis who both tweet out the exact same message. Like WWE PR supplied them with the exact same message and they both copy pasted it. It's like, we regret what happened to some of our talent that was released today, that were released recently. The person who was behind this was fired, and I'm like, Jesus. Send Mickie James her gear in a trash bag. It'll get you fired. But Velveteen Dream. But Jordan Devlin. But Jackson Riker. That's fine. They're all good folks. All good people. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so now it's becoming a much bigger thing now since Trips and Johnny Ace and even Stephanie McMahon tweeted about it. But she composed her own tweet because she's the chief brand officer. See, she doesn't need lowly PR people to create, to pre-chew her statements, right? So she tweets that out, and now you have a bunch of I've seen former wrestlers like Gail Kim who are like, that's nice and all, but people have been doing this for like years at this point. And Matt Cardona went on Twitter and highly indicated that the same thing happened to Chelsea. So, it's like Chelsea Green. You appreciate the message in saying we apologize, but you appreciate the message of them going, we apologize, we're sorry, Mickey, this doesn't make any sense. But you're firing someone over this, I don't think is exactly the right move, especially when you consider that you have much worse situations that you guys have never publicly acted on. And you're like, but the guy who sends a wrestler's gear in a trash bag will bounce his ass. And I'm willing to bet 10 Canadian fun bucks that the guy or the gal who was responsible for this was an intern. It wasn't even paid in the first place. They didn't fire the intern. They're like, nah, stay home. We're good. My God, man. It's so strange. Like, this is what they go to bat for, This is it. Like, oh no, trash bags are unreasonable. I mean, it was. I'm talking way too much about this, but I mean, it is something to underscore. The thing here is that I feel like nothing would have been as bad. It wouldn't have taken this volume if no one had said anything, if Triple H and if they had just, but you have to be befuddled, kind of like what I am right now, at how quickly they were to jump on this and sort of rein back on the situation when there's so much more egregious stuff. And the other thing that fascinates me as well is the number of people who respond to Mickey or, to me or whoever is tweeting about it and saying, well, she got her shit back. What's the problem? The problem is that she worked for 20 years for that company, on and off, admittedly. She's a legend, It's like, oh, we forgot to hear. We'll put all your shit in a trash bag and we'll send it to you. And I mean, it's just disrespectful. That's and clearly the people who are in this position were never, I hope, will never be released from their company in a very unceremonious way, because that kind of shit happens all the time, and it is very egregious. Because if there's one thing you always have to remember, is that a company's main resource is its people, regardless of what they do, who they are. Their main resource is you, the worker. So if they feel like it's okay to just take your shit and put it in a trash bag and send it to you, that just goes to show how much they cared about you in the first place. And that's really shitty. That's ultimately what's really shitty. I am convinced that Mickie James is not like, oh, I'm so relieved to have gotten my shit back. That's not her point. Point is, they put my shit in a trash bag and they sent it to me. Anyway. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much, DGMC. He said, I find it hilarious that Laurinaitis was rehired by WWE just so he could take the heat for them like in the old days, right? Like, they brought Laurinaitis in like, what, a week before, 2 weeks before they started firing people? It's wild, man. I think at this point, I think he's just the most qualified man for the job. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Evan. He says, these messages don't go out if Mickey doesn't post. Oh, absolutely. But the thing here, and this, of course, if Mickie James and most talent haven't said a word, because you can be damn sure that, Tucker, no disrespect intended, but Tucker got his shit sent to him in a trash bag too. If they sent Mickie James' shit in a trash bag, Tucker's shit got sent in a trash bag too, right? So, of course, most of the wrestlers didn't say a thing. But, you have to appreciate Mickie James going, you know what? I don't give a fuck anymore. And that's something you can get behind. And it's also something you can get behind that she knows that she can do other stuff. She can go work in other places. And that is always a good sign, folks. That you don't have to bend over to your former employer who just gave you the boot because there's nowhere else to work. She's like, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm done with these people. It's always, this was clearly a score she needed to settle. That's fine. I tell you, this is the kind of stuff that I dig. I like this kind of stuff. All right. It's also neither here nor there. Let's start talking about professional wrestling. Let's start with some warm soda. How about that? Let's start with some warm soda. Talking about the commentary changes that WWE did. We're about to be 2 weeks in now at this point, as of tomorrow on Friday on SmackDown. Now that we've had a chance a bit, why didn't I mute my phone? How fucking unprofessional are you, Warren Hayes, you son of a bitch? Jesus Christ. So we've had a couple of weeks to listen to Adnan Virk, the man who's out there wondering why WWE fans don't know who he is. He hasn't been great. he hasn't been great. When it comes, but I don't think he's that great either. I think frankly, I think he falls into he's an extremely vanilla announcer, and he's in that circumstance, he's perfect for WWE. Now, I know he's been catching a lot of heat because of a couple of things that he's been doing. He doesn't know what a Shining Wizard is. He called the back elbow a slap. And he called the Viking Raiders the Viking Express twice. So I'll tell you one thing. From what I know, and having talked to people who do play-by-play, you can be as prepared as you want. You can figure things out. There is nothing that will prepare you more for your job calling pro wrestling than doing it live. Do I think he's great now? No, absolutely not. I don't think he's good. I think WWE should have hired from within the business. I started thinking back, when's the last time they hired a play-by-play guy who was from the wrestling business? Michael Cole, let's not forget, he was a war reporter, and they brought him in because they were like, well, this guy, he has broadcast experience and he's a legitimate journalist. That'll give legitimacy to what we do, right? Tom Phillips he worked in sports before, but no one in wrestling. They had Kevin Kelly there, and they didn't want him around. Kevin Kelly is fine now. He's hanging out. He's doing New Japan. He's doing great work. I think the last play-by-play guy, who was on the main shows, who was from the wrestling business, I think it was JR. I think it was legitimately JR. Otherwise, it's just been outside dudes. Corey Graves is from the business, but he's a color guy. He doesn't do play-by-play. It's just, it's weird, this situation, that when they do that kind of stuff. But that being said, there's nothing, my point being here is that there's nothing that prepares you for doing wrestling play-by-play other than actually calling it live. There really isn't. And I hope he will get better, because right now he's kind of not great. And I think it's doubly frustrating to know that he's not great, knowing full well that there are people out there who are great. There are people who work on the indies and who've worked for Revolve and who could have, a little bit of training, get a nice suit, and they would have been perfect. But, it's what it is. Pat McAfee, though, I think he's great. I think that was a fantastic pickup, and I think he's going to have great chemistry with Michael Cole on Fridays. And the thing is that McAfee understands the business. He loves the business. I think McAfee is a natural fit for WWE. A very, 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 very natural fit for WWE. We'll see. We'll see how it goes on, but I'm a little 50-50 on these changes. Aaron Entertainment left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Says also the Charlotte stuff today, man. Yeah, that's another very wrestling online bubble thing. Basically, the long and short of it is Dave Meltzer was saying that Charlotte was suspended from WWE because she was getting some work done. The rumor is that it's, well, not the rumor, but what the report that's going around is that it's dental work. And he's sort of talked about her looks, her body, and Charlotte took offense to it. And it's a mess. It's just a mess. And, I honestly don't feel super comfortable getting involved in that or talking about that kind of stuff because, I just read reports. I just see what's happening. I didn't hear Meltzer, so I don't know what he said exactly. If I guess my main takeaway here is that if Charlotte has a problem with it, then we should take heed to Charlotte's feelings, because ultimately that's what's important. Because again, I've seen people being like, but Dave just said this, he didn't mean it like that. It's not important. It's not. Don't try to convince Charlotte on how she should feel. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, she's right or wrong. Even if I had listened to Meltzer, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. Charlotte's feelings in this situation matters. That it's her feelings that matter in this situation. So, okay, that's a whole other mess. It's a whole other mess. Maybe something that Adnan Virk can speak on. It's an unusual name, right? Adnan Virk. I feel like it's a very video gamey name, you know?
Yeah.
Like a Mortal Kombat. Adnan Virk wins. Sorry about that. Hey, Hannikin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Hannikin. He says, does AEW have a bit of a commentary problem also? JR and Tony both play-by-play, and Excalibur does play-by-play at times. Tony does not do play-by-play. He's a color guy. And he's said it, and he doesn't, he said it multiple times. He doesn't want to do play-by-play on the main show. He doesn't want to carry it. He doesn't want to be his responsibility. He's happy doing what he was. And it's not as much of a problem that they have. And this, again, this is my vision, my opinion here. Excalibur is the play-by-play guy. JR is the glorified play-by-play guy. JR is the guy that was hired from the get-go to bring in the lapsed fan, the former casual, the guy who used to watch WWE in the past, WWF, and was like, hey, it's JR. And he was a voice. He's a comforting voice for older viewers. For people who have been around for a while and who maybe stopped wrestling, they come back and they hear a very familiar voice. That all makes sense. But he's a glorified color guy at this point. He's the anchor. He will transition. He'll welcome people to Dynamite. He'll send them off at the end of the show. He'll put through the big story beats of the show. But it's Excalibur who's carrying the heavy lifting, and that's just as simple as that. But that's also the problem of any three-man commentary table at the same time. It's just the waters are a little muddier when it comes to AEW's commentary table, because you're like, JR is the color guy, but is the play-by-play guy, but he's not. Excalibur is, because there's a lot of moments where JR he couldn't follow the action. There's moments himself where he's like, just look at these guys go. They're going so fast, while Excalibur's just trying to This is what, no, giving the beats. It's not as much of a problem, but because three-man commentary tables have always been weird to me in wrestling. Yeah, I know it's a WWE thing. AEW's doing it too. I don't quite get it. I don't quite get the dynamic of a three-man commentary table. Look, most of the people who watch AEW programming in general will say Excalibur and Taz are the best commentary team that AEW has. Some will even argue that they're the best in wrestling right now. And I agree, they are super entertaining. Excalibur and Taz together are fantastic. Just two people. Clear. Excalibur calls the action, and Taz sits there and makes dumb jokes. And if that isn't the winning formula for a wrestling commentary team, I don't know what is. I want to jump back to SmackDown last Friday. Some cool beans for the Roman Reigns' treatment of Cesaro is something that I particularly relished. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, damn, this is good. Because I'm in the Cesaro section. That's let's just get that out of the way. So, deal with my bias. And the idea that Roman Reigns isn't giving Cesaro the time of day is exactly how management sees Cesaro. Cesaro is not a top guy. Like, this is exactly it. Roman is the representation of WWE management. And I swear they're not thick enough to not be realizing how meta this situation is. There are writers backstage who are like, damn, this is good because this is like art this is life emulating art, or vice versa, or whatever. It's always been Cesaro's WWE management's appreciation of Cesaro has always been that. Very, very little appreciation. Never seen as a top guy. It's like Cesaro comes in, like, this is literally it. He goes up to Roman and he says, I want a shot at your title. So like with management, I want a shot at a title. What does management tell him? Nah, he doesn't even look at him, walks away, and now we'll give you mid-carder Jimmy Uso. That's what you're gonna get because you're a mid-card guy. This is the story they're telling right now. And you know, Vincent Kennedy McMahon does not see Cesaro as a top guy, because if they did consider him to be a top guy, they wouldn't have shown the WrestleMania UFO 17 million times on Friday. I know it wasn't 17 million. They don't have that much time. But it felt like it. They showed it at every given moment. Why? Because they wanted you to be like, look, this is the guy who puts people on his shoulders and spins them around. That's what they wanted to show. That's what they wanted to get across. This is the guy who spins people around. Hey, look at how strong and wacky this is. Because if Vince had any confidence in Cesaro, they would not be doing that. So it's really art emulating life, or life emulating art, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm going to go here, this is where I want to go here with this, is that ultimately the story here has to end with Cesaro getting a shot. Otherwise, we're just going back to start. And I would not be surprised with WWE going back to start with Cesaro in this situation. But whether he wins the shot or not, the good story to tell here is Cesaro basically proving that he's a top guy and getting a shot, and Roman Reigns allowing him to get a shot, which is essentially what WWE is. But this is what you have to do, in my opinion. Injection 2K left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Injection 2K. He says, Warren, I want you to think. Oh, brother, we're in for a long night. Roman Reigns' title reign has 3 stages in it. Think about those 3 stages. There's 3 stages in this title reign. Hang on. You are making me think now. Roman Reigns' title reign has 3 stages in it. Think about those 3 stages. Now, I already feel like I'm overthinking it. 3 stages. What, like I'm not sure. I am not sure what those 3 stages. Okay, look. I'll put some thought into it, because I'm not quite sure exactly what we're going for. What you're trying to tell me, Injection 2K here. Yeah, the hamster is running overtime right now. But thank you very much for the super chat, Injection 2K, and I'll think about it. And if anything, we can chat about it later, and I'll bring it up on the next show. We'll figure something out. More cool beans. Bianca's celebration. I think it was great. The weird thing to me was that they being WWE didn't advertise it. And I know they didn't advertise it because last Friday was the last slate I did on a Friday, and they advertised 2 matches, and they were rematches from matches we had seen in the past. And it's weird that they didn't advertise Bianca's celebration, because every time there's a new champion, the new champion gets to celebrate, right? And I'd say most of the time, because there's probably precedent, but I'd say most of the time, there is an advertisement for that. They'll put it up on WWE.com. Bobby Lashley celebrates. Drew celebrates. The Miz celebrates. But Bianca didn't get that. She did get her celebration, but it wasn't touted as being, tonight we are celebrating Bianca Belair's big win, which is weird because it is such a historic win. You'd think that they'd lean into it more. That being said, I thought Bianca conducted herself like a pro. She was brilliant from top to bottom. Being introduced by Montez, her boy, her husband, coming in, and she was charismatic. She smiled. She talked. She was a star, a star. Then, in the meanwhile, you've got Sasha, who's pissed off. You have Bailey, who's like, I'm ready. I'm ready to get to, jump into the race again, kind of thing. This is great. But then again, it also makes sort of expose. It's like, why not create other contenders for Bianca in the meantime? Let's give us some mid-card feuds so that we can see other women sort of grow into the spot. Because I kind of feel like they're going to go straight to Carmella again, and we're going to be like, what, Carmella again? Mid-card feuds, build contenders so that when it's time to put them in a match with the champ, we know who they are. We might even say, hey, they may have a chance, may not have a chance, but weird. We're gonna go into some hot trash now. And I mentioned it. Oh, by the way, AK Germany 96, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. I just talked about it a few seconds ago, but I just want to sniff around a little bit. On SmackDown Live, we got Otis and Gable versus the Dominics, I was going to call them. I've already forgotten about Ray. It's the Dominics now. The Mysterios. And then we got the Street Profits versus the Dirty Dogs. And the matches were what they were. They weren't bad. They didn't stink. They were there. And my problem that I had here, and this always goes into my thoughts about how much does build count in my appreciation of a match, right? I have this thought quite a bit when it comes to pay-per-views and stuff like that. But seeing these matches, and I don't care, I honestly don't care how talented any of these teams are. I don't care seeing them again on TV because I just saw these matches multiple times within the past 4 to 5 weeks. So why in the name of God would I get even remotely excited at the idea of Chad Gable versus and Otis versus the Dominics? I know it wasn't a tag team match, but it's still the same people who were involved, right? I know it wasn't I know it was a singles match, but and I don't understand. And then we get like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn again, like straight after the pay-per-view, and it, you know, not that these guys have bad matches, but it was so underwhelming and boring. There was nothing there. You're like, why do it in the first place? And then we get the Viking Raiders versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin last Monday on Raw in the exact same spot on the card as they were the week before. How can this be a thing? How, like here's what doesn't make sense to, this is what doesn't make sense to me. The talent pool that is available, that is still there, that is not doing anything backstage, on Raw, on SmackDown, should at least ensure that we get different matchups. You got Humberto Carrillo who's not used, Ricochet, Mustafa Ali, Lindsay Dorado, Grand Metalik, Jeff Hardy. You have Jeff Hardy, and you're like, creative's got nothing for you. You've got Keith Lee who's hanging around there that's going to come back at some point. You have Akira Tozawa that you could be doing other stuff than silly ninja shit. You have Aleister Black who's been off TV after having a fucking winning streak, and Buddy Murphy, Shinsuke Nakamura. And then on top of that, then you have women that you're not using. Women that you're not using in NXT, use them on the main roster. It baffles my mind. Like you could fill a 3-hour Raw with a whole bunch of different people all the time. You really could, not different all the time, but give us a wide berth of matches. And we don't always see the same things week after week. Well, Randy Orton can't be fighting top stars all the time. All right, fine. Get PC trainees up. Give us some good old-fashioned squash matches or enhancement matches. They don't have to necessarily be squashes either. My God, man. You're sitting on so many people. I like it, and I know it's low-hanging fruit to get excited when you see Humberto Carrillo come out on Monday, you know, to sort of challenge Sheamus for his US title, because you're like, okay, great. Let's use some talent that's hanging around in catering before you release him in a year, you know, kind of thing. And I know it's low-hanging fruit to be like, finally. Because I know our default when it comes to WWE is like, oh, well, Humberto will be back in catering for 6 months in 2 weeks' time. Like that's our gut reflex. And don't you think it's kind of sad? Don't you think it's kind of sad that this is what that this is our instinct when it comes to WWE? Because one thing I was like, I was happy to see Humberto come out there with his beautiful beard and be like, come out and then and tweet us like, I'm good to see them using talent that is not just, that's not always the same people, right? But I'm not going to say, oh, back to catering with him after this. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, well, he's going to get squashed and go back to catering, because now we're putting ourselves into a catch-22. Because then otherwise, if you are completely and utterly cynical about this, then there's no point in watching WWE at that point. But again, you know, and recently again, someone was asking me, why do you watch WWE, Warren, if it aggravates you so much? It's because it's the big leagues. This is the one. It's MLB. It's the NFL. This is the big one. I want WWE to do better. I want WWE to do well, because I really believe that if they do well, the whole industry does well. I really do believe that. So I want them to do better. I don't want poor creative because it's for the talent. It's always for the talent. I'm not cheering on for WWE. It's for the talent. I want talent to have a fantastic, creative, fulfilling place that they can work in, live their passion, everything that they've trained for. I want them to have the best possible working environment for them. Creative, fulfilling, athletic, rewarding. But I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. Got Throwback showing up in the chat tonight. How you doing, Throwback? You left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says it's like Where's Waldo? Yeah, with all these missing, you're absolutely right. You know, you see Umberto come out and he's like, there he is. I see him. He's there. He's got the beard. I like to call him Umberto. Hey guys, the Mace and T-Bar have been unmasked. My God. And Mace was Dio Madden all along. And Dominik Dijakovic was T-Bar all along. Ugh! What a shock. But here's the thing. Madden and Dijak were already on-air personalities. Dio Madden did commentary on Raw. Dijak was all over NXT. This is my main gripe with WWE is that they don't. This is a superb example of WWE not rewarding its viewers, not rewarding people for playing along, for sticking by them, for watching, because they didn't mention it. No one went, my God, that's Dio Madden. Well, it's not like Adnan and Vink would know. No, but my God, that's Dominik Dijak. And I really would have preferred that to nothing, which is what we got. It's like, oh, they've been unmasked. And we know who they are because we watch your fucking product. And it's the same thing with Commander Commander Aziz. We fucking know it's Dabba-Kato. It's the same guy. Even when you had introduced him as Dabba-Kato, even though at WrestleMania you introduced him as Commander Aziz, he was still Dabba-Kato on the WWE.com roster page. He was still listed there as Dabba-Kato. So, stop treating us like morons, WWE. We pay attention. We follow these things. It's stupid. And like Anakin just pointed out to us in a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin, by the way. I appreciate it. He says Dio Madden has a YouTube video with 2 million views of Brock putting him through a table. Yeah, because that's how they got him off of commentary. Remember that? And you're absolutely right. And it's up to 2 million. I mean, it's contempt for your audience at this point. If you're consistently retconning and ignoring shit, then what is the reward to be a long-term WWE viewer? How are you rewarded? It's so frustrating. It's like no one will notice. Everyone will notice. And that's such a 1990s approach too. Yes, I just did this to my eyebrows. Oh, let's... WWE's women's division stinks, guys, and gals, and this is something that we have to come to grips with. Monday, and I will say this, because on Monday, just before, right now, I sincerely believe that Sheamus is currently the best part of Monday Night Raw. I think he's been one of the best parts for a while, and I think he's solidifying his presence. I think he's doing fantastic in-ring work. He's working a style that is logical and consistent for him. He has a character that makes sense, that he feels comfortable in, pulling off of his strengths. I think he's my favorite reason to watch Raw these days. Absolutely. And you think that, but not the women. And this goes for all of WWE, by the way, but we're just going to use Raw as a catalyst. Alana and Naomi versus Shayna Baszler and Nia, the other one, happened, right? And there was some back and forth, and I dare say this match had something there, okay? It wasn't a complete trash fire until Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, who, by the way, now look completely interchangeable, come out to distract Nia Jax by playing some embarrassing footage on the Titantron. And Nia Jax ditches the fucking match to go stomp her feet and be like, Mandy and Dana, so stop playing that video. Who do you know in the truck? Blah, 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 blah. So Baszler loses for her team because Nia Jax is being dumb. And I'm just saying this because it's, Nia Jax, and, she's one of my favorite targets. But it's not just because of that. We see this more than often. This is a championship match. It's not a championship match, excuse me, but it's the champions who are coming out to wrestle. They're the champs. There's still that comes along with it. And then she's like, nah, never mind the match. I don't want this footage to go. It's so stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Baszler loses again. What are they doing with the women's division right now? Then we have Tamina and Natalya over on the SmackDown side of things, slowing the place up. You had a terribly booked main event between Charlotte and Asuka and Rhea Ripley, who came in to interfere, tripped up Charlotte and forced her to lose. It is such... Charlotte, not this past Monday before that comes out, cuts an extraordinarily good promo. So what do? They send her back out this week, again in the exact same spot as last Monday, and say, go ahead and cut a promo, but not quite as good and then a little more confusing. And you're like, what's going on? Then she gets suspended because she beats up on a ref. And let's set people on fire, and act as if nothing happened, but beat a ref and get suspended. There are very, very tiny, minuscule redeeming qualities in the WWE women's division. And I would say that this is a trend that's been going on since November-ish. That's what I'd say. Where there's this extra focus that's being put on the tag team division, spearheaded by Nia Jax, I know what they want out of Nia Jax. I know how Vince perceives her. I know what they want Nia Jax to be, but Nia Jax is not what they want her to be. She needs to be carried. She cannot carry a division. She's not a star. She's not half as charismatic as they pretend or try to convince us that she is. You've got Shayna Baszler, who is legitimately one of the best shoot wrestlers that we have in the business, and she's jobbing out because we have to protect Nia at all costs, and she's not having matches that are up to par. You've got Sasha, Bianca, Bayley over on SmackDown, who are a bright spot. Of course, the horsewomen are going to be a bright spot. Charlotte is a bright spot. Asuka is a bright spot, but they're being booked to shit. They're being booked in terrible angles, mediocre matches. They're not creating an undercard for the women. And this is exactly a problem that we're going to run. This is a problem we're going to run into sooner than later, because you won't be able to rely on the horsewomen or Asuka again to come and bail you out when it's time for your champions to have defenses against other women.
Oh, yeah.
This is not the fault of the talent. It's not on them. This is how they're being booked. It's the creative. The women's division stinks right now. It's not good. And it hasn't been good for weeks, months. There has been bright spots. Sasha and Bianca, I mean, despite the fact that it was booked, it was booked horribly, like WWE, like with all the WWE tropes, all of the worst WWE tropes. So tired and convoluted and stupid. The women still managed to shine because they are both stars. They're pros. So regardless of the awful creative that they were given, everyone was still excited to see this prize fight, and they delivered, and it was a prize fight. It was the best match. It was the best match of the entire WrestleMania week end. Maybe not the week, because there was Walter versus Ciampa on a certain night too. It's absurd to me. It's all absurd to me. Asuka's losing personality. They had given her this nasty, I'll cut wild promos in Japanese to you and I'll mock you. But now she's become a babyface, so now she's all smiles and giggles, and it's the same pattern over and over and over again. And there's no undercard. The rest of the women are all in tag teams, and the real tag team, they have one real tag team who have a tag team name and who have been wrestling together for a long time. That is Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, and they can't even manage to do anything proper with them when they have a natural, organic, built-in following. They don't have to do anything. It's the most bizarre situation, because we go from 2020, which was a banner year for the women's division, truly, and somehow it all gets flipped within a few weeks' time. Let's see, we got a couple of super chats here. Let's have a look-see. Anakin left us a super chat again. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, correction about the Dio Madden video, 4.9 million views. He's almost up to 5 million views there on the Brock putting Madden through a table. So that's something. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much. DGMC, I appreciate it. He says, WWE's women have been carrying the company for 3 years, but the booking constantly holds the division back from being an even bigger, consistent deal. I agree. To the defense, though, of the women's division and their talent, creative is shit across the board. It's not good for most people on the men's side as well. To be fair, I shouldn't have said that. I hate that expression, but it is, But I agree. Like 2020 was the women helped us get through the empty arena era of WWE for sure. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Are we back to the Divas era on Raw? He says, look, I'll tell you this much. I think I'm wondering how much of a coincidence there is with John Laurinaitis being rehired, and suddenly you have Mandy and Dana in matching gear, showing off a lot of skin and, working off the fact that they're super blonde. You kind of wonder. Super short matches, a lot of them meaningless, these really convoluted storylines. Look, I'll meet you that way. But like I said, I mean, creative is shit across the board. I don't see why the women should. It makes sense to a degree that the women aren't spared here, because everything is just shit. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says they're trying to replicate Sasha and Bayley, I guess, with Asuka and Charlotte, is because if that's what you meant, I think you might be right. And Sasha and Asuka, as much as they have a good history together, they have a history of rivals as being rivals. They're not. No. Oh, Nia and Shayna. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. They're trying to recreate. Yeah, you're right, Anakin. They're trying to recreate Sasha and Bailey with Nia and Shayna. That I will get behind. But the problem is, the big difference here is Sasha and Bailey are super charismatic. Nia Jax is a vacuum. And I think that's the thing. And also, Sasha and Bailey are like legitimate friends. I'm not saying that Nia and Shayna don't get along, but I'm pretty sure they're not bosom buddies. You know what I mean? AK Germany 96 left a super chat. Thank you very much, AK Germany 96. He says they're missing agents like Fit Finlay who care about the women. That is such a fucking great point. None of them are getting better because they don't get chances as they do in AEW. That is such a spot on point. Where you had a guy like Dave Finlay who trained, produced women's matches, took care of them. When I say took care of them, it's like went to bat for them, made sure they got the time. I mean, he's been credited more than enough times in helping the women's division grow. It's such a good point. It's a good one. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how I'm just reading it over, and it just makes so much sense. It really does. All right, let's start talking about Dynamite with some cool beans. So last night on Dynamite, of course, Hangman Page got a win against Ricky Starks. Starks was just a great opponent for Page. Let's just start that off by saying that Starks, because of the weight difference, Page was able to showcase his strength. When he did that pump handle fall away slam, and he did that other fall away slam, the avalanche one. But you know what was great here, and this is a trademark now for AEW. This is a trademark. Adam Page ends the match with an ankle lock crossface submission type move. Not the lariat, not the buckshot lariat. He ends it with a submission move. And I'm like, cool. And that's what this is what's cool. I like this, again, in a sports-centric environment where matches can end without necessarily prepping for your big move, but look, that's not, I like the match. I thought it was good. It was a lot of fun. But look here. Hangman, they just mentioned this. Hangman Page has a streak going. He has a streak. He's at 12-0 now, or something like that. He lost once at Kenny Omega, and since then he's just been racking up the wins, right? I think he's at 12-0. What a great match. What a great way for people to get interested in a guy and in his matches, and by just saying he's got a streak going. That's all. That's all he has to do. That's all you have to do. It's nothing like, oh, Adam Page. See, this is one of the things that I thought that the Matt Hardy stuff, I'll win your Q1 earnings, where I was like, this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. like, I'm glad that you guys are wrestling for money because that's the idea, but it's like, I'll win your Q1 earnings. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, you were going to get a big purse if you were, if you were going to win regardless. So you're just going to get a bigger one. All right, okay, cool. And AEW, in one of, a rare missed opportunity, didn't capitalize on this. They didn't have Matt Hardy come out on the Dynamite following the pay-per-view going, oh, I am destitute. I have nothing left over. I am so poor now. No, he's just like, nah, I'm hiring new people. I lost all my money, but now I have Butcher and the Blade on my side too. And I'm like, okay, so no one really cared about the angle. Because ultimately it was extraneous to the match and what they're trying to say with Adam Page. They're clearly setting up Adam Page to be the number one contender. This is you can bet your bottom dollar on that. Are they pulling the plug on Double or Nothing? I don't think they should. They're establishing something with Brian Cage, with Team Taz in general. Team Taz is like one character, right? It's just like one guy. Well, not one guy, but like you feud with Team Taz or one guy in Team Taz and you're feuding with everyone. I think your safe bet, like if we still consider All Out to be the big one, the AEW's WrestleMania kind of thing, you hang on to Page versus Omega there. And I hate these arguments, but in this case, it's one of those that makes sense. You wait for a live crowd for this one. Because I swear, folks, when I was rewatching matches last year to come up with my list for the Voices of Wrestling Matches of the Year compilation, I went back and rewatched the Revolution tag team match from last year, the tag team championship match. I think we have forgotten how over Hangman Page is. Like, the guy was insanely over. So it would only make sense to sort of wait and cross your fingers that maybe we can get the Sears Center again and maybe we can pack in, capacity or close to. Maybe if everyone's vaccinated, it'll be cool, that kind of situation. I think this is the kind of match you want in front of a live crowd, and a big live crowd. You want people to pop huge for Page when he comes out. But regardless, I think they're going to take their time. Mark my words, this is what they've been doing. They're giving him the slow build, keeping him on the lower, the upper mid card, I should say. They're doing a Bobby Lashley with him. I'm not saying they're copying, but it's the same type of pattern. You have a guy who's winning all these matches. He's a little bit under everyone's radar because he's not fighting the big guys week after week. He's just tearing through the mid card, which is what a main event guy should do, right? Tear through the mid card. Ends up on the top spot again to go fight his former partner. This is what they're going for. I am convinced. I love what they're doing with Adam Page. I love it. And Adam Page is the guy to do it. He's so good. He's good. He's a good wrestler. He's charismatic. He's a natural. I absolutely love it. But you don't burn that at Double or Nothing. That would be a mistake. Let's go for some warm soda. Because we had a tale of two promos last night on Dynamite, didn't we? We had MJF and the Pinnacle. MJF, look, how many times on this show have I said I am so sick of cutesy comedic MJF? I'm really tired of him with all the gimmicks that they gave him, the accoutrements, all the stuff, the stuff with the presidential race emulation, and then the cutesy stuff with Chris Jericho. How many times have I said I am excited for him to go back to be a dickhead heel mean, nasty, cutting, slicing burns. And this is what we got last night. Again, over and over. You let MJF be the MJF that we all initially fell in love with, and this is the guy we get. Fantastic promo. He says, I'm not good at 25. I'm 25 and I'm good, period. Like, I'm paraphrasing, right? That's not exactly what he said. And he saying this to Chris Jericho, when you were 25, you were curtain jerking on Worldwide, while I, at 25, am a top guy in the company. He says, you keep saying, I'm a mark. He says, I'm a mark for your spot, Chris Jericho. And I'm like, fuck. And it was so good. And of course, we got Wardlow just before that. It cut a perfect, awesome little promo. But MJF, he's on another level. He's just on another level. And I'm so glad he's back. This is the guy that I liked. And I'm so glad he's back. Then a couple of minutes later, you have the Inner Circle doing their promo and that didn't quite turn out as good. Chris Jericho, just as much as Chris Jericho 2 weeks ago, was cutting, one of the best promos of his entire career, bar none, unquestionably. Last night, the comedy wasn't funny, and not just Jericho, the straws and all that. I don't think it was hitting. The show tune was kind of cringe, and I think Jericho kind of knew it too. I think he felt like it wasn't working, so he sort of moved out of it and said, that silk scarf, I wiped it with my ass, and it sort of came out so randomly. I was like, maybe he just decided to ditch the show tune thing because it wasn't good. Stark contrast between the two. And to a point, this is the guy, who's like, is it a work? I would not be all that surprised that Jericho maybe threw the promo to make MJF look better by comparison. They like each other. They like working with each other. I wouldn't see why. I mean, we're in conspiracy theory world here. It's wrestling, right? Everything's a work. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but I wouldn't be surprised. But MJF, man, holy shit! I watch out, Jay White. He's coming for you. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Says MJF, real heel, not taking the tag off the scarf. Didn't he? I think he tried to yank on it, but then was like, I might burst the. First of all, Wardlow, brother, you should have cut the tag. You cut the tags before making the gift. Even though I guess Wardlow could have had the excuse was like, well, it was a gift from Tully, right? And he didn't open up Tully's package, because that would have been But at some point, someone has to check because you leave the tags on a gift. It's a little weird. It's a little, it's a little tacky. But didn't he turn around? Didn't MJF turn around and was like, he tried to yank on it, but he was like, the silk, I might wreck it. And he just left them there. As if no one had scissors. You don't yank on a tag on a fucking silk scarf. I'll tell you that much. I don't know if it's going to be a better look for him. The silk Burberry scarf. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I'll tell you one thing, blood and guts, man. I'm looking forward to it. MJF and Jericho 2 weeks ago, MJF last night. They're selling me a ticket to this match, man. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. And the Observer has been saying that it is everyone's been acting like it's gonna be a one match show. That's how commentary's been going over it, and I'm like, hey, what? A 2-hour match? There's going Broadway and there's going Broadway, No, I'm like I mean, look. And then there's, I don't know, like I'm trying not to formulate too much of an opinion until we know what's going on. And besides, my opinion is probably just going to be the same. It's like, okay, let's say it's a 2-hour show or a 1-hour show because there's an NBA game and they have to preempt early, whatever. It's still a 1-hour match, which we've seen before. It's not that big a stretch, but a 2-hour match, whatever. Sure, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. There's no one in that ring that is untalented. There's no one in that ring that you could look at and be like, nah, this match is gonna be horrible and stink from top to bottom. I said, why not try something new? So what if it's a 2-hour match? I'll watch it. I'll watch anything once. And if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. If it clicks, it clicks. It'll be just as simple as that. But I'll tell you, I much prefer risk-taking from wrestling promotions than the opposite. Because WWE takes 0 risks. And this is what happens week after week. It's the same formula that they just stick to week after week and have been stuck with it for years. Why are we saying that the programming is stale? It's because they're not trying to captivate our imagination anymore. They're going through a formula to create content. I say, why not try it? Want to say hello to SB4200. Welcome to the chat. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much. DGMC says 9/11 was an inside job. Warren is no. Now, please, see, I should. Now I read this, and now people are going to clip that, and they're going to say Warren Hayes, conspiracy theorist, thinks 9/11 was an inside job. This is the thing that's going to happen. But thank you for the super chat. Evan Wright left us a super chat again. Thank you very much, Evan. He says, them being the Pinnacle, saying Tully was working on the war plans. Fantastic stuff. It's just these little details, right? And it just, makes you understand why Tully's there in the first place, right? It's good stuff. Some cool beans. Hikaru Shida versus Tai Conti was a solid, fun wrestling match. I enjoyed it a great deal. I think that people are putting it over a little harder than it deserves. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad match. I thought it was solid. I think it had a particularly good final third. I thought at first it was a little slow. There were a couple of things that were a little off, and that's not a big deal. I just think it's not as great as people have been saying it is. But that being said, great performance by both women. Fantastic work by Tai Conti. I love the final third of this match. The final third erased a whole bunch of stuff from before. It's like, okay, great pace that they have going here, and it was really good. Conti, man, she is real good. And she got good so fast. Heading into AEW, working with the trainers there. I'm excited for it. I think it's great. Now, at the end of the match, and this is the story here, guess who walks out proclaiming herself to be the number 1 contender, which is great because they were leading into this week after week with Britt Baker, of course. She was leading into it week after week, going like, hey, the rankings, this is the rankings here, and this is where I am here. And now she comes out and she's like, boom, she even had her graphic. She had the people in the truck pull up her graphics like, I'm the number 1 contender now. Put the belt on Britt. If this is what we're going for Double or Nothing, we're going for Shida versus Britt. Mwah. Fantastico schmantastico. But put the belt on Britt. Now is the time is more than now. She is the cornerstone of that division. She is the face of the division. We love Hikaru Shida. We love her contribution. She carried the division through a very, very uninspired, somewhat dark time in AEW's history. She She delivered. She worked hard with everyone. But now you got to put the belt on the woman, on the alpha female of that division. And it is unquestionably Britt Baker. She is not only face of the women's division, I would argue, she's up there as a face of the company, along with the Cody Rhodes, right? And I know they like to put Brandy on the posters a lot. They like to give Brandy her action figures, but Brandy ain't half the face of the company that Britt is. Britt is a complete total package. I love it so much. I am here for that. Give us the match at Double or Nothing. Put the strap on. Otherwise, what are you waiting for, AEW? Like, I think at some point you have to pull the trigger. You have to. Because we've seen other large promotions do similar things, right? With their match opportunities, with their champions, where they're like, oh, we'll do this down the road, and then you get to, someone gets injured, someone gets fired, someone leaves the company, and we never get the match we wanted. Don't dawdle. Want to say hello to Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Yeah. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying your ice cream that you're going to get, because ice cream is good. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much again, Anakin, for all your super chats tonight. I appreciate it. He says, could have been an interesting story of Tay winning, then Britt beating her, making her more of a heel, and Tay coming back to reclaim it at Full Gear. That would have been a fun story. But I think you want... I think the strongest win for Britt is to beat Shida, and I think that's what she has to do. If no one has been able to defeat Shida since Nyla Rose, ultimately, it's going to be a big deal when Britt does it. I think that would have been I think that's the best scenario. And frankly, as good as Ty is and has become, I still think she has room to grow. I'm not quite sure she's ready for the world title spot yet. Britt is there, man. She's just dripping with readiness. AK Germany 96 left us a super chat. Thank you very much. AK Germany 96 again. He says they need to heal Britt up or she gets cheered. You know, I frankly think that what could you, okay, this is it's a good point, but what would you do? What could you do at this point that will keep people from giving Britt Baker the Adam Cole reception? And I'm not trying to make comparisons necessarily because they're a couple, but that's the problem you have with Adam Cole when he was in NXT. Like, no matter how dastardly they tried to make him, or the Undisputed Era guys for that matter, they just got cheered because they're just so fucking cool. They're great at what they do. And that's the thing with Britt. She's so good in her spot. Like, should she devour cats live on television? I think, I'd be like, nah, I ain't supporting her anymore. What the fuck, I mean, that being said, I don't want any animal cruelty on television. I'm just saying, it's like, what would she have to do? Like, I don't know what attacks Shida with some kendo sticks and beats her bloody. Nah, people are expecting Britt to bloody up her opponents at this point. They're in a situation where, yes, she's the heel, but I think she's a cool heel. She's the heel you want to cheer, because she's that damn good at what she does. And then more cool beans for the main event. Darby Allin retaining the TNT title against Jungle Boy. Again, Darby in the main event. of Dynamite. And what a fucking great match this was. Again, from Darby. And again, free main event, Dynamite, Wednesday night. You don't have to pay a dime for it. They throw themselves over the barricade. Jungle Boy does a body scissors driver. I don't know if that's how you call it. Even Excalibur was like, well, it's not quite a Poison Rana, but it was fantastic. Then he did his series of 3 topes, with the final one being a tope con hilo, and boy, did Darby eat shit on that last tope con hilo. My God. Coffin drop on the apron. You even had, in this main event, you had Sting and Luchasaurus go at it. Jungle Boy's doing rolling Romero specials. He gets his snare trap in, which is sort of like his modified Moodalock, and Darby fucking wins with the Last Supper out of nowhere. God damn it. This match was all about Jungle Boy, though. Darby sold. He was the pain absorption man that he usually is. Like, I don't think this guy has nerve endings, but Jungle Boy shined throughout this match, and he is a consistently fantastic wrestler who deserves to be put in big match situations week after week after week. He's ready for it. Look, give him time to grow, so on and so forth, but man, if he doesn't make it to the TNT title soon, I don't know what I don't know. He's so great. Jungle Boy, in big match situations, he delivers. When it's time to deliver, his match with MJF last year, one of my favorite matches of 2020, bar none. An absolutely fantastic fight. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's being misused. I get what they're doing. But I also keep saying, at some point, you can't always cheer for the losers. If you're at some point, if the guy always loses, you're like, well, I'm gonna go cheer for someone else. But it was a great match. It was such a great match. Evan Wright left us another super chat. Thank you very much, Evan, for all the super chats tonight. I appreciate it. He says, want to get some Alex Abrahantas love out there. Yeah, who's doing his pairing with Penta Zero Miedo. Abrahantas and Penta are... I like the combination. And frankly, I don't know why... I would have broken Penta away from the rest of Death Triangle and have him go out with Abrahantas and have them do their stuff on the side. I think there's much more of a heel thing to get there with Penta. Break him away from Phoenix, from Rey Fenix for a while. Let him go off and do heel shit. So I'm kind of glad that they're keeping this dynamic, but at some point, Pac is gonna have to address this, right? Because Pac will have an issue with this very, very early on. He's like, why is this fucker hanging around us all the time? Penta, this is going to happen. So they're going to have to address it. But the pairing between Abrahantas and Penta is fantastic. I really, really like it. Well, I guess we're done then. That was the... Well, we're not done talking about wrestling, but we're done with the weekly wrestling inspection. Don't forget to give a like to this video if you enjoy what you're seeing so far. We're still going to cover a couple of things before we hit the bricks. And if you're watching this late, on your own accord, not live, drop a comment in the comment section. We need to keep our streak going here, ladies and gentlemen. Impact Rebellion is happening this weekend. Don't forget, everyone. I'm going to run down the card really, really quickly. Fire and Flava, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champions, are going to be taking on Jordan Grace and another to be determined opponent who Jordan Grace already tried for the titles with a TBD opponent, turned out to be Jazz. Who's it going to be this time? And will she be able to do it? I really like Tasha Steelz and Kara Hogan as tag champions. I think they're really, really good at it. They're a great team. They're fantastic. Maybe Jordan will be like in this holding pattern where she needs to find like the perfect partner, and maybe she hasn't found it yet. We'll see what the big surprise will be this Sunday. Chris Sabin, Eddie Edwards, James Storms, and Willie Mack are going to take on the stable known as Violent by Design. Eric Young, Diener, Joe Doring, and Rhino. Also have Trey Miguel versus Sami Callihan, which should be if Callahan is into it, it should be a lot of fun. Matt Cardona versus Brian Myers. Okay. Austin Aries versus Josh Alexander versus TJP for the Impact X Division Championship. No reason for this to not rule. And I think, honestly, I think Josh Alexander is going to win this one. I think there's value in putting him over as a singles competitor, especially in the X Division. I think there's a lot of good here. Jordan Grace picked Rachel Ellering as her partner on Impact tonight. Well, that's cool. I didn't see that one coming. That's a lot of fun. Acer 5000, welcome to the chat. Did I say Austin Aries? I didn't say Austin Aries. Ace Austin? Did I say Austin Aries? I apologize to Ace Austin. Oy vey. Oh boy. Deonna Purrazzo will be defending the Knockouts Championship against Tennille Dashwood. Yeah, Deonna's great. You know, Tennille, I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know about this match. You know, Deonna's going to be fantastic. I think Tennille is very hit or miss. So we'll see. I'm sorry. Hey, seriously, if I keep calling Ace Austin Aries, I need to rewire my brain. Maybe I need to go vegan. Finn Juice, David Finlay, and Juice Robinson are going to be taking on the Good Brothers for the Impact World Tag Team titles. Look, hey, Finn Juice had a fantastic, one of the best matches of WrestleMania week against Violence is Forever at Have Fun Be Sad at the that was the name of the event, Have Fun Be Sad, which I watched, and it was really I watched this match. I saw this match because I saw too many people raving about it, and I did not expect Finn Juice to be that fucking good because they were really good in this match. So I'm looking forward to their tag match. And if anything, this is proof. What I've been saying about the New Japan tag division, where it stinks and there's nothing really of value in it. Because if Finn Juice can shine at an indie match and pull out of their ass one of the best matches, one of the absolute best matches. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about the New Japan Tag Division. It's crap.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'll tell you. It's crap. But it's such good stuff. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much. It says, Dave Finlay, boy, that guy is a shining star. And who'd have thunk it, right? Just a couple of years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, before his injury, right? It's like the constant job guy in New Japan, and now he's just like pulling out bangers. Well, you know, he is a Finlay. He likes to fight, I guess. And of course, the big one, the main event, called by Mauro Ranallo, Rich Swann, Impact World Championship versus Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion. Wait, hang on. Rich Swann is not a championship. He's a champion. Let me start that over again. Rich Swann, the Impact World Champion versus Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion. In a winner-take-all match, I think Kenny's winning. I think he's making off with the title. And I saw so many people going out there and saying, why isn't AEW promoting the Impact pay-per-view? Their champion is it. It's not AEW's responsibility to promote Impact's pay-per-view. We don't know the terms of their deal. Well, Impact's been promoting AEW. Okay. Cool. Maybe that's part of their deal. We don't know. The point is that it's not up to AEW to get to spend time promoting someone else's pay-per-view. Well, they did it with Kenta. Okay, yes, they did it with Kenta and the New Japan stuff. But again, we don't know what the terms of the deal are. We don't know what the accord is. But basically, like on a basic thing, like AEW didn't promote Kenny Omega's match against Laredo Kid in AAA. They didn't. They showed off the title when he won it, but no one's bitching about that though. The point is that we just don't we don't know the terms. And AEW it's not their responsibility to promote other people's stuff. Au contraire, if I'm AEW, I'm like, hey, I'm giving you my world champion who just so happens to be Kenny Omega, worldwide wrestling star. I think that's all the promotion you need on my part. And if I'm that promotion, I'm saying, oh yes, sir, thank you, please, I appreciate it, and I don't bother Tony Khan ever again. That's what I do. You get your instant marketing with Kenny Omega showing up. Christ, AEW has, again, I'm not the ratings expert. I don't like that kind of discussion because I think it's boring, but I do stay abreast. I do keep an eye on things. WrestleNomics is my source. I keep an eye on stuff. Impact, ever since they've been working with AEW and been working with Kenny Omega, their viewership has gone up. That's what they wanted. What does AEW have to gain out of the Impact relationship? I still don't know. I still don't understand what AEW is getting tangibly out of all of this. But it's not their responsibility. They gave the ultimate promotional tool to Impact. They gave Impact their world champion, who just so happens to be one of the most recognizable names in wrestling. Don't know what to tell you. Should be a really fucking fun main event. I'll tell you that much. Mauro Ranallo on commentary. On top of that, should be a lot of fun. What should I wrap up with? What should I wrap up with? Because I wanted to talk about Daniel Bryan a bit, and I also want, but I think I'm going to talk about WWE's Q1 earnings call that happened today, Q1 2021. That happened today. Oh yeah, we do have a couple of super chats. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay, yes, Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Oh, Mark Carrano out of WWE. Supposedly he sent people their stuff in garbage bag. Mark Carrano? He's the he's like the senior director of talent relations, something like that. Like, right? Let me check here. Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, I mean, if you ask me, this is a power play. If you ask me, this is a power play. This is, I mean, he wasn't really well liked from what I understand. Oh yeah, Johnny Ace took his job. Okay. Because he wasn't really well liked. You know, Mike Chioda, a couple of months ago, he tore into the guy. So he took his, Carrano, I mean, this is just a way to get him out of the picture. You know, Johnny Ace comes in, takes his job, and he was probably hanging around and being, miserable So now they saw an opportunity to fire him, and it's like, told him to hit the bricks. Ah, that's sad. I mean, it's sad because this is clearly corporate politics, if you ask me. They just wanted to get him out. They made a scene because it was convenient for them to make a scene because they wanted to dump someone that they probably wanted to get rid of. That's the way I see it. All right, let's go through the quarter one earnings really quick. Just some quick thoughts about it. Brandon Thurston, of course, of WrestleNomics, is usually the guy I turn to for this kind of stuff because that's what he does for a living. He just follows. He follows all the ins and outs of the business side of professional wrestling, and no one reports on WWE's earnings reports like he does. WWE reported Q1 2021 net income of $43.8 million. Revenue was $263.5 million, all over expectations. The revenue was a few million over expectations, but still, they overshot what they had planned. On profitability, WWE writes that upfront revenue recognition related to the delivery of certain WWE Network intellectual property rights was partially offset by the absence of a large-scale international event. So basically, of course, they're talking about here, they're talking about the Peacock deal and the Saudi Arabia events. So basically, they're saying that the revenue that they got was good, but was offset because there wasn't an event. If they had held an event, they would have made more money. They had held an event in Saudi Arabia, is what they're saying. And they talk about the Peacock stuff a little later on. They say they also said online media consumption is up sequentially, but down from last year's quarter one. In quarter one 2021, fans watched 367 million minutes of online video. This measures video, by the way, on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, as well as WWE platforms. And as Brandon points out here, it's notable that the slide in the past would be updated with a count of WWE Network subscribers domestically and internationally is gone from the KPIs. It's possible international subs are disclosed, but who knows? We don't quite know exactly what's going on there. As far as the ratings, the TV ratings go, Raw ratings in first quarter 21 as opposed to first quarter in 20 ratings are down 17%. So again, a lot of people are like, my God, it is a catastrophe. Well, you always have to, and they do the comparison to how ratings are going on the USA Network and across the top 25 cable networks. WWE is still bringing in more than double the amount of viewers that USA Network has on average. USA Network dipped 14% off its ratings, and WWE is a strong performer for them on USA on Monday nights. Overall cable viewing is down 11% from first quarter 2020 as opposed to 2021. So again, even if these are always the indicators that a lot of people don't necessarily latch on to when it's like, why is the network still hanging on to WWE when they're such poor performers? Well, maybe the ratings are going down, but they're still outperforming most of the programming that is on the network right now. This is equally stunning when you look at Fox when it comes to SmackDown on Friday nights. SmackDown's viewership is down this quarter as opposed to the same quarter last year in 2020 by 12%. Again, just for SmackDown. But Fox Network in general has lost 44% of its viewership from last quarter. So you gotta look at this and say, hey, they're still racking in the 12% isn't that big of an offset loss when overall everything is underperforming on the right on the network. And as far as broadcast TV viewership overall across the top 4 broadcasting networks, they've lost 19% of their viewership. So again, SmackDown is probably performing better than many other shows on Fox. What I think will be interesting to see is when viewership starts going up on USA, on Fox overall. When viewership starts going up, if it ever will, and stops losing viewership quarter after quarter, we'll have to see how SmackDown is performing. We'll have to see how Raw is performing, because right now they're losing viewership, but everyone is losing viewership, and they're not bleeding viewership as much as other shows that are on those networks. So again, this is the kind of thing that you have to consider. This is the kind of thing that you have to consider when you're looking at ratings numbers too. So that's very interesting. There was a huge growth in the network segment, which was coinciding with the beginning of the Peacock deal in March, which led us all. There were a lot of people that were assuming that that year one of the deal is front loaded, meaning that the money came in on the first quarter, and we have proof here that the Peacock money is already in. WWE's social media KPI slides show really big growth in Facebook followers. Meanwhile, Twitter followers were down 3 million. Maybe all the bots are heading over to Facebook, and Twitter's is purging everything. For what it's worth, these numbers include all talent and social media accounts. And this is something, that we all, that WWE doesn't mention this, when it talks about its YouTube numbers and how much we're followed on social media and all that. It's not just like WWE.com. It's like, anyone who's contracted, Drew McIntyre, Asuka, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, everyone who's contracted to WWE, all of those numbers, that's wild. That's something that they don't quite mention. They always pass it off as WWE has, but their talent is also working out there and getting those numbers up on an individual basis. Revenue for the consumer product segment was up Q1 2020 despite no venue merchandise. Was up from Q1 2020 despite no venue merchandise. So again, WWE Shop is pulling in the money. More money than when they were running live shows and having had merch tables set up again. Online merchandise sales were compared to recent quarters since the pandemic with 10 million in sales. Product licensing was up 11 million, higher than the last 2 first quarters. I mean, it's they're doing lots of money on shops selling title belts. It's t-shirts, shitty t-shirts. And yeah, it also confirms that this quarter included the payments from NBCU related to the new Peacock agreement for the WWE Network. The domestic monetization of WWE Network is generated from content license fees and certain shared sponsorship revenues from NBC Universal. Media segment revenues for the first 3 months ended March 31st, 2021. Include the upfront revenue recognition related to the delivery of certain intellectual property rights under this agreement. That's business speak to say, hey, that deal we signed for the first year, we got the money. The money's ours. It's in the bank. Those are basically the main numbers. Of course, you know, there was, you know, if you ever doubted that WWE considered itself a media company as opposed to a wrestling company, you know, Nick Khan, I wanted to say Tony, excuse me, I don't want to get my Khans confused. Nick Khan said, also talked about WWE Studios output. He says, you know, he talked about Young Rock on NBC, you know, the AEW shows that they're developing, and apparently he's got a deal. They have a deal with Crunchyroll, the anime, the anime streaming service. So that's really wild, you know. They were talking about. They were asked about the results of, you know, how did WrestleMania go on Peacock for the first time, and Khan said that we were thrilled with the result, and NBC was apparently even happier. So, you know, we'll see how that's going to go. He also said that they're looking to possibly replicating the Peacock deal in key international areas. I think India is one of those key events, areas that they're talking about, a market that they definitely want to do. Stephanie says WrestleMania attracted more than 50,000 fans, whereas in fact Brandon Thurston again did some work with the Tampa Sports Authority to show that WrestleMania had actually attracted just under 40,000 fans for both nights combined. So they never got 50,000. They didn't even have 50,000 paid. I'm just running through a couple of notes here. TV viewership continues to remain stable. They're saying that that their numbers are robust, which means absolutely nothing. And it's clear once again that they want to do a large-scale international event this year, which, of course, is a Saudi Arabia show. There you go. Just some of the details. If you want to read more about it, WrestleNomics.com, Brandon Thurston on Twitter, WrestleNomics on Twitter. You have all the ratings discussers and the so-called specialists. Brandon takes a cold hard look at the numbers and pitches his analysis. I don't think there's anyone better out there who can make sense of what's going on than Brandon Thurston. I really don't. Same goes with the earnings calls. He follows it. It's fantastic stuff. He has a great breakdown over on WrestleNomics.com. Can't put Brandon's work over more than I already can right now. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap it up for tonight on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I want to thank everyone for hanging out live tonight here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Consider becoming a member. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have more live streaming content for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel here on youtube.com. So if you ever wanted to become a member, you get the emojis, you show some support, you get more live stream time with me. That'll be fantastic. But in the meantime, come and join me, patrons, immediately after the show over on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. And we are going to be talking about Daniel Bryan. That will be fantastic. But I can't thank you all enough for joining me here this evening, hanging out live, or taking the time out of whatever portion of your day to listen to me ramble about professional wrestling. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening.